Found out my wife's entire family and her rich ex spent years laundering money through my construction business while plotting to divorce me and take half of everything. Overheard them scheming at a dinner I hosted, spent weeks gathering evidence, then blew up their lives during another family dinner with hidden cams, PI recordings, and a surprise cameo from the ex's pissed-off wife. Lost some light bulbs and a wife, but kept my business and dignity. I was elbow deep in potato salad when Olivia's brother Nathan strolled into the kitchen, his stupid designer cologne hitting me before he did. "Need a hand, Chief?" he said, leaning against the fridge like he owned it. That word, Chief, always sounded like a sneer coming from him, like he was patting a dog that just learned to roll over. "Nah, I'm good," I said, forcing a grin. "Just don't touch the brisket. It's been smoking since 5 a.m. He smirked, flicking a speck of lint off his cashmere sweater. "Wouldn't dream of it. But hey, you might want to check the garage for extra chairs. Dad's bringing the new girlfriend. She's got volume." He mimed an hourglass figure with his hands and laughed, like we were sharing some bro moment. I wiped my hands on the dish towel, my palms already sweating. Olivia's family dinners were always a minefield, but tonight felt different. She'd been jumpy all week, forgetting to charge her phone, taking calls in the backyard, snapping at me when I asked if she wanted help with the grocery list. Not her usual, "I'm stressed about work" vibe. More like, "I'm hiding a body" energy. The garage was cool and dim, the smell of motor oil and old tools hitting me like a time machine. I'd built half this house myself, rewired the outlets, laid the floors, even framed the stupid garage shelves Olivia insisted on painting seafoam to soften the masculinity. My boots crunched over loose drywall screws as I grabbed 2 folding chairs. That's when I heard them. "Still can't believe you married this guy." Nathan's voice, sharp as a nail gun. I froze. "Olivia sighed. We've been over this." "No, you've been over it. Dad's right. You need to ditch him before you're stuck with some snot-nosed kid and a foreclosure notice." My stomach dropped. The chairs in my hands felt suddenly weightless. "Relax," Olivia said, her tone ice cold. "I'm already working on it. The lawyer says we can take half the business and the house. Equity's through the roof since he renovated." Nathan snorted. "Christ, Liv. Cold-blooded. Please, you think Daniel's any better?" Daniel. The name hit me like a kicked ladder. Her college ex, the trust fund lawyer her parents had shoved at her for years. I met him once at a charity thing, all polished teeth and Rolex smiles. "At least he's got class," Nathan said. "Not like your boy in there playing Bob the Builder." They both laughed. The sound crawled up my spine. I don't know how long I stood there. Could have been 5 seconds, could have been an hour. My brain short-circuited, stuck on loop. Half the business. Half the house. Daniel. The garage door creaked in the wind, and I snapped back into my body. Backed out slow, chairs rattling in my grip. The walk to the dining room felt like wading through wet concrete. Olivia was arranging peonies in a vase, her blonde hair catching the sunset through the window. She looked up, all dimples and sunshine. "There you are." Mom's allergic to folding chairs, so I put out the linen covers. "Cool," I said, my voice coming out robotic. "Need anything else?" She tilted her head, that little frown she makes when the Wi-Fi's slow. "You okay? You're pale." "Just hungry." She laughed, brushing past me to adjust a fork. Her perfume, something expensive and floral, made my throat tighten. That's new, I realized. She'd worn vanilla for a decade. Dinner was a blur. Olivia's dad, Richard, held court about the stock market, shooting me looks like I was the help who'd serve his steak wrong. Her mom, Margaret, picked at her salad. "Ethan, darling, this brisket is interesting. Is it supposed to be this charred?" "It's bark," I said, staring at Olivia's neck. At the thin gold chain she'd started wearing 2 weeks ago, a pendant tucked under her blouse. "Means it's good." Olivia kicked me under the table. "Play nice," her eyes warned. I almost laughed. Her sister, Sophia, the only one in the circus who ever treated me like a human, caught my eye across the table. "She mouthed you good?" I shrugged. When dessert came out, store-bought pie, because Olivia forgot to make her famous creme brulee, Sophia accidentally knocked her wine in my lap. "Oh my God, Ethan, I'm so sorry. Let me help you clean up." She dragged me to the kitchen, her grip vice-tight. "Check the safe," she hissed, scrubbing at my jeans with a napkin like her life depended on it. "What?" "The safe. In Dad's office. Combinations Mom's birthday backward." Her eyes darted to the doorway. "And lose the chain, Sherlock. You've been staring at her neck all night." Back in the dining room, Olivia was laughing at something Nathan said, her hand on his arm. That pendant glinted when she leaned forward. I waited until 2 a.m., Olivia snoring softly beside me, before slipping downstairs. Richard's home office smelled like cigars and regret. The safe was behind his golf trophies, dusty and smug. November 23rd, 65 backward. 56-32-11. The door clicked open. Inside, a stack of documents thicker than my thumb. Loan agreements, offshore account numbers, and page after page of my business expenses. Carter Builders permits, equipment leases, payroll, with notes in Olivia's loopy handwriting. Discrepancy here? Ask Frank about 2021 taxes. At the bottom, a post-it. Meeting with D, Tuesday. Bring equity docs. My hand shook. The pendant around Olivia's neck. I'd seen that cursive D somewhere. Then I remembered Daniel's Instagram. A post from his company's anniversary party. Thanks to my rock, Rachel, he'd written, tag next to a woman in a red dress. Hanging from her neck, the exact same gold D. The safe door clicked shut behind me, but the sound barely registered. My hands were sweating so bad the paper stuck to my fingers. I sat there on Richard's Persian rug, probably cost more than my truck, spreading the documents out like some deranged jigsaw puzzle. Loan agreements from a bank in the Caymans. Spreadsheets with my company's logo, but numbers that didn't match anything I'd ever seen. And Olivia's handwriting everywhere. Those bubbly loops she used for grocery lists and love notes, now dissecting my life's work. Discrepancy here? She'd scribbled next to a 2021 equipment purchase. Ask Frank about 2021 taxes. Frank, my accountant, the guy who'd helped me file taxes in my mom's basement back when Carter Builders was just me and a hammer. Olivia had brought him cookies every April. I shoved the papers into a manila folder I found in Richard's desk, Shady Pines Golf Invitational 2018 stamped on the front, and crept back upstairs. Olivia was still asleep, one arm flung over my side of the bed like she owned it. The pendant glinted in the moonlight. 3 hours later, I was parked outside Frank's duplex, engine idling. His porch light flickered on at 6:03 a.m., right on schedule. The guy had worn the same plaid robe for a decade. He nearly dropped his coffee when I barged in. Ethan, what the hell? I tossed the folder on his kitchen table. How much did she pay you? He blinked, owl-like behind his glasses. Who? Olivia. The color drained from his face. Good. Turns out Olivia had been helping Frank with my books for months. She said you were too busy with projects, he stammered, clutching his mug like a life preserver. Just wanted to streamline things for tax season. I flipped to a page flagged with a pink sticky note. $85,000 to Harborview Contractors, November 2021. Frank squinted. That was the HVAC job on the Maple Street renovation. I did the HVAC myself. You watch me install the units. His mug hit the table. No, I processed the invoice myself. Signed by you. Except I'd never heard of Harborview Contractors. And the signature? A decent forgery. Olivia had watched me sign enough checks to nail the slant of my E. Frank started hyperventilating when I mentioned the offshore accounts. I just filed what she gave me, Ethan, I swear. I left him hunched over his sink, puking up breakfast. The flashback hit me at a red light. 2 years ago, Olivia's parents' anniversary party. Me in a rented tux, Olivia in a black dress that cost more than our fridge. Daniel had been there, of course, slick back hair and a smirk. He'd cornered me by the shrimp tower. You're the carpenter, right? Cute. Liv always did have a thing for fixer-uppers. Olivia's mom materialized, clutching a martini. Daniel's just made partner at his firm. Isn't that wonderful, Ethan? Olivia had swooped in, laughing too loud. Ethan's expanding his crew to 6 guys. Tell them, babe. I didn't get to. Richard started bragging about Daniel's Porsche. The PI's office was above a vape shop, which should have been my first clue. Marty, bald, built like a fire hydrant, reeking of nicotine gum, skimmed the Harborview invoices. Fake company. Classic shell game. You're lucky they got sloppy. Sloppy. He tapped the Cayman Islands bank statement. Real pros use 3 for layers. This. Amateur hour. Your wife's got a greedy lawyer boyfriend. Maybe. I handed him Daniel's LinkedIn photo. Marty whistled. Pretty boy. Let's see what dirt he's rolling in. Olivia was working late again. I used the time to tear apart our home office. Found the pendant's receipt stuffed in her planner. D. Chambers Jewelers, $2,800. Charged to our joint account. Google showed Daniel's wife, Rachel, tagged in 8D Chambers ad last Valentine's Day. My amazing hubby nose diamonds are a girl's best friend. I dry heaved into the kitchen sink. Marty called at midnight. Your boy Daniel's firm reps Harborview Contractors. They've been laundering money through half a dozen shell companies. Your wife's name's on the incorporation docs. The room tilted. How long? First filing was 6 months after your wedding. 7 years. 7 years of her cooking the books, funneling cash to Daniel, playing house. I gripped the edge of the desk, wood splintering under my fingers. A key turned in the front door. I barely had time to slam the laptop shut before Olivia appeared, heels dangling from her hand. Why are you still up? Couldn't sleep. My voice sounded alien. Big project tomorrow. She leaned against the doorway, mascara smudged. New perfume again, something dark and spicy. You've been distant lately. Just stressed. I clicked the laptop screen down. Actually, I've been planning something. For our anniversary. That got her attention. Anniversary's not for months. Surprise trip. The life flowed easier than I expected. Tahiti. You always talked about the overwater bungalows. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Wow, that's really sweet. Need your passport. For booking. I'll dig it out tomorrow. She kissed my cheek, her lips cold. Love you. The second the bathroom shower kicked on, I texted Marty. How fast can you get a bug in someone's office? His reply depends. You got $500 cash and a blind eye? I stared at Olivia's pillow. She left her phone on the nightstand, lit up with a notification from DCM, Daniel Charles Management. Tomorrow, I thought. The pendant glared at me from her jewelry dish. I pocketed it on my way to the couch. Let her explain that to her boyfriend. The lawyer's office smelled like lemon polish and regret. Marcus sat across from me, his fingers steepled under his chin like he was praying for patience. Let me get this straight, he said, flipping through the folder of documents I dumped on his desk. You want to sue your wife for divorce, expose her family's money laundering, and somehow keep your business intact? Yep. And you're planning to do this by? He squinted at one of Olivia's forged invoices. Bug in her office? Already done. I leaned back in the leather chair, the same one I'd sat in 7 years ago when Marcus helped me incorporate Carter Builders. Back then, Olivia had held my hand under the table. Now her face stared up at me from a photo paper-clipped to a bank statement, frozen mid-laugh at some party I wasn't invited to. Marcus sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Ethan, even if half this is true, dragging her family into it could backfire. Richard Kensington's got friends in places that don't show up on Google Maps. So do I. I pulled out my phone, queued up the recording from Marty the PI. Daniel's voice slithered into the room, smug and sleepy. Just keep funneling it through the shell companies. By the time he notices, you'll be sipping margaritas in Belize with half his. Marcus hit pause. Christ, you realize this is inadmissible in court. Don't care. I just need her to panic. He studied me like I was an unstable load-bearing wall. Panic makes people reckless. Good. The fake subcontractor list was a work of art. Harbor View Contractors, Bay Ridge Electrical, Tri-State Landscaping, all shell companies tied to Daniel's law firm. Marty had dug up incorporation papers signed by Olivia, her neat loops a slap in the face. I spread them across my workbench in the garage, red string connecting the dots like a serial killer's vision board. Sophia's text came at midnight. Meet me at the 24-hour diner. Now. She was already in a booth when I arrived, hunched over coffee with 3 sugar packets torn open beside her. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. The first time I'd seen her look anything less than polished. They're moving money, she said without preamble, sliding a thumb drive across the table. Dad's been pressuring Olivia to finalize the divorce before you catch on. I pocketed the drive. Why help me? She stirred her coffee, the spoon clinking like a jailer's keys. Because I'm tired of being the family disappointment. And because she hesitated, her voice dropping. Daniel's been sniffing around my little sister too. The eggs I'd ordered turned to cement in my gut. Magnolia? She's 19, Ethan. 19 and starstruck by his stupid suits. Sophia's knuckles whitened around her mug. Burn them all. Olivia was waiting up when I got home, wrapped in that silk robe I'd bought her last anniversary. Where were you? Job site, emergency. I tossed my keys on the counter, the lies smooth as fresh paint. Got a big contract upstate. Gonna be gone a few weeks. Her eyebrows shot up. Weeks? Hudson Valley Development. Custom cabins. Big money. I opened the fridge just to avoid her eyes. You'll barely notice I'm gone. She stepped closer, the robe slipping off one shoulder. I always notice. For a heartbeat, I almost caved. Almost told her I knew. Almost begged her to explain how we'd ended up here. Then I remembered Daniel's voice on that recording, lazy and cruel. You should have seen his face when I mentioned the Porsche. Like a kicked puppy. I shut the fridge. I'll pack tomorrow. The cameras were easier to install than I expected. Tiny, black, nestling into corners like mechanical spiders. I planted one in the living room, one in the bedroom, another pointed at Olivia's desk. The app on my phone blinked to life, showing our empty bedroom in grainy night vision. Marty's voice echoed in my head. They'll get sloppy. They always do. The job site was a rented storage unit on the edge of town. I filled it with blueprints, empty lumber crates, even a coffee maker plugged into an extension cord, stage dressing for when Olivia inevitably stopped by to bring me forgotten paperwork. Let her think I was drowning in work. Let her get comfortable. Marcus called on day 3. Your wife's lawyer just requested 5 years of business tax returns. Send them. Ethan, send them. Day 6, 11:47 p.m. My phone buzzed on the motel nightstand. The bedroom camera alert showed Olivia perched on the edge of our bed, Daniel's tie loose around his neck. Trip was a gift, she was saying, her laugh brittle. He's probably off building someone's dream kitchen. Daniel pulled her closer. Our turn to build dreams, baby. I watched until the screen blurred. Marcus met me at dawn in the storage unit, his briefcase dented from how hard he'd been clutching it. They're using your business to wash nearly $2 million a year. If you expose this, the IRS will crawl so far up your... I didn't do anything. You think that matters? He slammed a hand on the workbench, sending a coffee cup rattling. This isn't some framing job. You blow this up, you could lose everything, including your freedom. Outside, a truck rumbled by. I picked up a framing hammer, testing its weight. Already lost everything. His sigh was the sound of a man signing his own obituary. What's the play? I pulled out the thumb drive Sophia had given me. On it, Richard's voice boomed. Transfer the remaining funds before the audit. Olivia's handling the contractor. We invite them to dinner. Marcus blinked. What? Oldest trick in the book. I set the hammer down. You trap rats by making them think they're safe. Then you burn the house down. He left muttering about malpractice insurance. I stayed to sharpen my tools. Olivia called that afternoon, all honey and concern. When are you coming home? I stared at the paused video frame on my laptop. Her and Daniel tangled in our sheets. Soon. I miss you, she said, and for a split second, I almost believed her. The pendant burned in my pocket. Me too. That night, I dreamed of our first date. Olivia in a diner booth, stealing my fries. You're different, she'd said. Not like the finance guy's dad shoves at me. I woke up sweating, the motel AC rattling like a death rattle. On my phone, the camera feed showed our empty bedroom. Soon, I thought. Somewhere a clock ticked. The dining room smelled like rosemary and lies. Olivia had lit candles, the fancy beeswax ones her mother gave us last Christmas. For ambience, she'd said, arranging them between the charcuterie board and the vase of peonies. I almost admired her commitment to the bit. Her parents arrived first. Richard swaggered in like he owned the place, cigar smoke clinging to his jacket. Ethan, he said, clapping my shoulder too hard. Heard about the trouble with your big project. Shame. Margaret air-kissed my cheek, her diamond earring catching the light. We'll sort this out, darling. Olivia says you've been overwhelmed. Nathan strolled in next, thumbs hooked in his belt loops. Place looks different without your tools lying around. Chief. Almost civilized. Olivia shot him a warning look. Nathan. Sophia arrived last, lingering in the doorway. She met my eyes, gave a tiny nod, and took the seat farthest from her father. Dinner started like every Kensington meal. Richard holding court, Margaret critiquing the wine, Nathan making jabs disguised as jokes. Olivia played hostess, refilling glasses and laughing too loud at her dad's stories. I counted the minutes. When the clock chimed 8, I stood. Before we eat, I want to thank you all for coming. Family's important in times like these. Olivia smiled, warm and fake. Of course, babe. I pulled out my phone. Actually, I've got something to show you. The room froze. Richard's fork clinked against his plate. Can it wait? This prime rib's getting cold. Won't take long. I tapped the screen, and Daniel's voice spilled into the room. Keep funneling it through the shell companies. By the time he notices, you'll be sipping margaritas in Belize with half his. Olivia's wine glass shattered on the floor. Richard shot to his feet. What the hell is this? I tossed the Harborview invoices onto the table. That's your daughter and her boyfriend laundering money through my business, using your offshore accounts. Margaret gasped. Nathan choked on his steak. Sophia sat perfectly still, eyes blazing. Olivia reached for me. Ethan, it's not what. I played the security footage next. Olivia and Daniel tangled in our sheets, her laugh tinny through the phone speaker. Nathan lunged across the table. You're dead. You hear me? Dead. Sophia threw her water in his face. Sit down. The doorbell rang. Olivia stared at me, pale. You invited someone else? Claire, Daniel's wife, stormed in before I could answer. Red dress, smudged mascara, holding a printed stack of texts. She froze when she saw the screen, Daniel's bare back, Olivia's gold D-pendant glinting. You? Claire hissed, slapping Olivia so hard her chair screeched. He swore it was over after me. Olivia clutched her cheek. Claire, I can explain. Explain this. Claire flung the papers, selfies of Daniel and Magnolia at a ski lodge, his arm around Olivia's baby sister. She's 19. Richard's chair toppled. You're lying. Sophia stood, trembling. She's not. The room erupted. Richard shouting. Margaret sobbing. Nathan lunging at me again until Claire cracked a wine bottle against the wall. Touch him, and I'll bury you. Olivia screamed over the chaos. Ethan, stop this. I waited until the noise died to a simmer. Then I pulled out Sophia's thumb drive. Your offshore accounts, the shell companies, the loans. I flicked through the files on the TV, each click louder than the last. All signed by you, Richard. Notarized by Daniel's firm. Richard's face purpled. You think you've won? I'll ruin you. I'll burn your business to the ground. I stepped closer, close enough to smell his bourbon breath. You already tried. He swung. I ducked. His fist smashed the mirror behind me, glass raining down. Margaret screamed. Sophia yanked her mom back as Richard staggered, clutching his bleeding hand. You're nothing, he spat. A glorified handyman. My daughter pitied you. Olivia flinched. I pulled the pendant from my pocket, let it dangle in the candlelight. Funny, she cried when I gave her this. Daniel's wife snorted. Crocodile tears. He buys those for all his projects. The word hung there, sharp as broken glass. Olivia crumpled into her chair. Please, let's talk alone. We can fix this. I almost pitted her. Almost. Claire grabbed the thumb drive. Fix it with the IRS. She stormed out, heels echoing down the driveway. Sophia lingered, hugging herself. I'll take Mom home. Nathan dragged Richard out, still bellowing threats. The door slammed. And then it was just us. Olivia reached for me, her voice cracking. I loved you. I stepped back. You loved what I built. Her mask slipped in, raw, furious. You think you're better than us? You're a carpenter, Ethan. A nobody. I grabbed my go bag from the hall closet. Funny, this nobody's got your family by the balls. She followed me to the door, desperate. Where are you going? We're still married. I tossed her the divorce papers. Not for long. The motel bed was lumpy, the AC wheezing. I stared at the ceiling, replaying Claire's slap, Richard's roar, Sophia's quiet nod. My phone buzzed. Marcus. IRS called. They're opening an investigation. I texted back, good. Then I turned off the lights and let the dark swallow me whole. The motel coffee tasted like burnt tires, but I drank it anyway, watching rain streak the window. Marcus's voice crackled through the speakerphone. They're offering a settlement. How much? I asked, scratching my dog Brix's ears. He'd been glued to my side since I grabbed him from the house. Full ownership of Carter Builders. The house. And he paused. Olivia's relinquishing any claim to your future earnings. I stared at the peeling wallpaper. What's the catch? They want you to sign an NDA. No criminal charges. No going public about the laundering. Brix whined, sensing my tension. Outside, a semi-truck roared past, shaking the walls. Tell them I'll take the business and the house. The rest can burn. Marcus sighed. Ethan, the NDA. I'm not hiding what they did. Let the IRS sort it out. The house felt hollow when I returned. Olivia had stripped it bare. No photos, no curtains. Even the goddamn light bulbs were gone. Only her scent lingered, clinging to the walls like mold. I found her wedding ring in the garbage disposal. Sophia found me ripping out the kitchen cabinets. Need a hand? She wore paint-splattered overalls, her hair tied up in a bandana. No Kensington pearls. Just a girl with a crowbar and a guilty conscience. We worked in silence for hours, tearing out everything her family had touched. When we reached the subfloor, Sophia knelt, prying up a loose board. Dad hid cashier after the '08 crash. All that remained was dust and a dead mouse. They're ruined, you know, she said, wiping sweat off her brow. Dad's under investigation. Mom's filing for divorce. Nathan's hiding in the Hamptons. I yanked out a nail-studded plank. And Olivia? Sophia hesitated. Daniel dumped her. Claire's suing him for everything. The crowbar slipped, gouging the floor. Good. A year later, the letter arrived. Ethan, I'm sitting in our old house. Your house, I guess. Mom says you turned the backyard into a vegetable garden. That's so like you, finding life in dead things. I know you won't forgive me, but I need you to know it wasn't all a lie. That night at the diner, when you told me about rebuilding your dad's fishing boat after the fire, that's when I knew you were different. You made me believe broken things could be fixed. I'm sorry I broke us. Live. Attached was a Polaroid of our first apartment, a shoebox with leaky pipes and a view of a dumpster. She kept it all these years. I burned it in the stainless steel sink her father had insisted we install. The nonprofit launch party was Sophia's idea. Financial literacy for blue-collar workers, she'd pitched. Keep assholes like my dad from screwing them over. She'd used her inheritance to fund it. I'd built the downtown office space, repurposing salvage barn wood and shattered marble from her parents' mansion. Poetic, she called it. Claire showed up, towing her toddler. Daniel's in jail, she said, handing me a casserole dish. Thought you could use a win. We ate on the unfinished conference table, bricks scavenging crumbs. Sophia laughed for the first time in years, loud and unguarded. That night, I dreamt of Olivia again. She was sanding drywall in the old garage, humming off-key. You missed a spot, she said, pointing to a hairline crack. When I reached for her, she dissolved into sawdust. Marcus retired. Sent me a card with a photo of his new fishing boat. Don't wreck the place without me. I framed it next to my first building permit. The text came at dawn. Unknown number. You were right about the foundation. I blocked it. Today, the crew's breaking ground on a community center. My first project since the implosion. Sophia is handling the books. Bricks supervises from his dog bed in the trailer. As I mark the layout lines, a shadow falls across the chalk. Heard you need a lawyer, Rachel says, holding out a business card. Pro bono partnerships. Her left hand bears a fresh tan line. Divorce final? I ask. She smiles, sharp and sad. Turns out rebuilding's easier alone. We watch the backhoe claw into the earth, unearthing roots and rusted cans. Somewhere beneath us, the old city whispers.